But these do reflect that strategic philosophy, and will allow you to maintain the infrastructure that's essential currently for the electric utility, and as important, maintain the financial integrity of the electric utility as well. So if there are any questions regarding the financial plan specifically related to the electric utility or in general, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Julian? So, Mr. Julian, just to state for the record a couple of items that we went over at the prior public hearing. This bond is $34 million, $34,100,000 as stated in this ordinance, if I'm reading it correctly.
That's correct.
And what's the term of this bond?
10 years.
10 years. So, thank you. As opposed to the prior bond, which was 20, this is 10.
Yes.
Okay. And with regard to that 34 million, and I believe you made reference to this, but just for clarification, approximately $20 million of that total is earmarked for the move to the new City Hall project, with the remainder being earmarked for investment and improvements in our electrical grid system.
That's correct.
Okay. But that's not to say that that $20 million covers the entire cost of the City Hall project. That's just the contribution from the electric utility bond that will be supplemented by other revenue sources.
That too is correct.
And in terms of repayment, if I remember correctly, our prior discussion, the other branches of our municipal utility family, wastewater and the sewer works, will be making repayments, if you will, over the course of time to the electric utility in an appropriate, proportionate fashion to cover their share of the cost of the move into the new facility. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
But because of the way that the financial burden sharing works between Civil City and the utilities, there won't be a companion payment from Civil City to the utilities for the $20 million portion of the bond that's connected with the move to City Hall. Is that also accurate?
It's accurate. The civil contribution is in an upfront cash versus financing.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Jillian? Then thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? If you would, please come forward. Seeing no one, is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? Then is there anyone physically present who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed ordinance? Is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed ordinance? Are there any council members who wish to speak? Again, thank you for the hard work that went into this on behalf of all. I believe, quite frankly, that this is an example of the foresight and the strategic planning and the work that should go into all of our work, so I appreciate what went into this. I'm happy to be able to say that I'm going to vote in favor of this. And it is not only good for the utilities and the electrical grid, but I continue to believe that the move to City Hall will benefit not just the employees of the city of Mishawaka, and in particular, those folks like Mr. Schrader who have had to go into that current facility for these many years. I've always felt bad for you, so I'm excited by the fact that you and others will have a much more pleasing professional environment to work in. It's going to do great things for the police department. They're limited by their current space, as why are we here at City Hall. I will say, with all of the good that will be visited upon the community by the move to City Hall, and it's high time. It won't just benefit employees. This is going to be a facility that's going to be amenable to use by all types of civic groups, and I firmly believe that through the hard work of Mr. Prince and everybody else involved, this is going to be a facility that we can all be proud of. I do take somewhat issue with regard to the overall actions taken this evening of trying to to grossly oversimplify them as making them a matter of intestinal fortitude or lack thereof. I believe that in particular, the concerns that have been expressed by my colleagues, Mr. Emmons and Mr. Mamiletti, this evening are reasonable and defensible positions, and I support them. So that said, I choose to look past that, and I won't further engage it, and I'll be happy to vote in favor of this evening, of this ordinance as well as the companion rate ordinance this evening. And with that, if there are no other questions or comments, I will call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yeah.
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mr. Compton?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
The proposed ordinance passes 9-0. And the final ordinance of the night, proposed ordinance number 2020-42, an ordinance establishing a schedule of rates and charges for electric energy and services rendered by the Mishawaka Utilities Electric Department.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Budget and Finance, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance 2020-42, report that they have examined said matter and in their opinion, it should be presented to the council as a whole. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any questions or further discussion? If not, then Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council on the acceptance of the committee report?
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mr. Compton?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
Committee report passes 9-0.
Thank you. We will then open the second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2020-42. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, if you would, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Like the mayor, Jim Schrader, General Manager, Mishawaka Utilities. Like the mayor, I probably should have said, I'll speak at both of them at the same time. But obviously, I think this is one that is, obviously, we're very proud of, and I think everyone around us should be, and I hope the ratepayers will appreciate the hard work that's gone into making this happen. And to do a rate reduction in this day and age is not very well, not heard very often. So we're proud to present this and to look for your support.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Schrader? Thank you, Jim.
Yep.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance, if you would, please come forward. Is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? Is there anyone physically present who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed ordinance? Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed ordinance? Are there any council members who wish to speak? Mr. Compton.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Jim, I want to thank you, your staff, John, whoever worked with you to make this happen. This is big. This is really, and this move from AEP to our other vendor, that took some work, some guts, you know? It's a big move for the city of Mishawaka. And I appreciate all the work that got us here. It's kudos, good deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Compton. Mr. Emmons.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Schrader, Mr. Julian for their input and hard work on this. I don't understand all these 12 Gs or whatever you're talking about, but,
It's all
I'm
good
sure
stuff.
that they're
It's all
very
good stuff, Mr. Emmons. Good, it's all good stuff.
okay. You know, I know I don't want to mess with it, but I appreciate it. And also, I appreciate the reduction in the rate and the labor that went into securing that, and I'm sure that the citizens and the citizens of Mishawaka will appreciate that also. So I appreciate all your hard work on it in securing the lower rates for our citizens. And like I say, I like the idea of the new city hall that's going to be financed and I think it's going to be a benefit not only to the utility department, the police department, city hall, but also all the constituents in Mishawaka. So thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I will be supporting this proposed ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Emmons. Other questions or comments from the council?
Yes, Mr. President,
Mr. Mamalenti?
thank you for allowing me to have the floor. I want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Schrader and Mr. Julian, the mayor and his administration for the foresight and the efforts to think down the road so far in advance to put us in this position. And as Mr. Schrader and Mr. Compton had mentioned, this is such a great deal that we could pass on to our residents, and extremely unheard of. I'm super proud of our utilities. I do not take it for granted. Almost so much I look forward to the unlikely event that my power goes out when I have a friend or a relative there, so I can tell them, just wait 2 minutes. And it every time pops back on. And I love the fact that we have clean, safe drinking water, so much that my wife and I fed all 3 of our children during the infancy stages with our city water. So kudos to all that are involved. Again, great efforts, great foresight, and I will be in support of this proposed ordinance. Thank you to all.
Well said. Thank you. Other comments from the council? Hearing none, then I will call for the question. Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Hastings?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mr. Compton?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance passes 9-0.
Thank you. We will now move into new business. Is there any new business to come before the council? And I hope the answer to that question is no, in all of our best interest. Well then, thank you everyone for your patience this evening. Given that this is our last council meeting of the year and we are on the cusp of the holiday season, I want to wish a safe and Merry Christmas to everyone in attendance, all of our residents and my colleagues in particular, as well as a Happy New Year. And if there is no other business to come before the council, then a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you.